All right, hello everyone. We're going to talk about geologic time and formations. Let's see if we can wrap our head around how long geologic time is. Let's give you an idea of the different eons and so forth that we are dealing with. And let's also look specifically at the formations that you guys are going to encounter out here in the field. So geologic time covers a lot of time, and it's going from the beginning of Earth until now. So interestingly enough, the Earth's history is comprised of 3 different eons. Each one has a very large amount of time that we're dealing with. So they're starting at 4.5 billion years ago and are divided into different pieces based off of major events in each of these eons. So let's look at them from the most recent to the most ancient. So the one that we are in right now is called the Phanerozoic, and that's from 540 million years ago until now. We have wonderful events going on. Animals are developing during this time. We have the Paleozoic, which is our ancient life before the time of dinosaurs, really unique animals living during that time. The Mesozoic, middle life, that's when we have primarily the dinosaurs and so forth. And then the Cenozoic era, which is what we're in right now, which is commonly called the Age of Mammals. And we have major extinction events throughout. Then we go into the Proterozoic, and that's from 2.5 billion years ago to 540 million years ago. And there we have our first eukaryotic organisms and simple marine life. So these are, single-celled, multi-celled organisms. We go further back, the Archean eon, that's 3.8 billion to 2.5 billion years ago. And we have organisms living in the water. We have a lot of these that are prokaryotic. So these are bacteria, and these are the archaeobacteria that live in some pretty extreme environments. And again, things are more or less, life is starting out in the water. And then we go all the way back to the Hadean eon. This is earlier, before we have any life and before the Earth was fully solidified. Not a nice place to live at the time. It's, the Earth's still kind of cooling down after forming. So we go from the Hadean to the Archean to the Proterozoic and to the Phanerozoic. So, that's 4 eons instead of 3. All right, so here we have a division of all of those time frames that we're looking at. So again, we're looking at the duration of each one. So the Hadean's 13% of that time, the Archean's 33% of that, the Proterozoic is 42%, and the one that we're living in right now is only 12% of all that time that we're dealing with. So here are the divisions of the Phanerozoic, which we're going to primarily focus on because it's a lot more interesting. There's a lot more cool stuff going on that we can get a lot more information from, but all of this is very, very important. So there's your Paleozoic, you've got your Cambrian, Ordovician, Salernian, Devonian, Mississippian, Pennsylvanian, and the Permian. As an FYI, we have an extinction event here, an extinction event here, a mass extinction event here, the worst of all time, so that's 3. We have a mass extinction at the end of the Triassic, and then we have a mass extinction at the end of the Cretaceous. Following that, we have the Paleogene, Neogene, and the Quaternary. And there's not necessarily big, each one of these is marked by an extinction event. Each one of the ends, some of these are major, some of these are minor, and there is talk right now that we are currently in our 6th max extinction event here, but that's something to keep in mind. So let's go into the different, another example here. This is giving you an idea of how long ago each one of these was, and major events here that are occurring as well. So you can see those, take a good look at that, pause it if you need to, get some good relevant information. And here's another one that's a little bit more fun, that deals with a lot of the fossils that we'll be looking at as well. So things that you guys can kind of get an idea, wrap your head around, for major types of fossils from the beginning to what we have now. All right, now let's look into specifically the Mesozoic. We'll have some Triassic formations that you're dealing with. You can see them listed below here, and these are the sedimentary environments in which they form. So we have the Moenkopi, which is a coastal plain, the Chinle, which is fluvial to lacustrine and Aeolian. So we have a lot of different things going on in the Chinle. So we've got rivers and lakes, and then desert environments. Then we have the Wingate, which is primarily a desert environment. That's what Aeolian means. And then we have our Kayenta, which is also a fluvian to Aeolian environment. So again, lots of different things going on here. The Triassic tends to be a drier time period with a lot bigger deserts, and this is during the breakup of Pangaea. Then we move into the Jurassic, and during this time we have that separation of Pangaea, so now we have a lot more diversity within our life forms, and dinosaurs in particular really start to go into evolutionary overdrive. But looking at the formations, we have our Navajo sandstone, which again, more of a desert environment, the Page, which is a desert environment, the Carmel, which is now getting to a marine to river type environment. Then we have the Entrada, which is a more desert environment. And then we have the Morrison, which is what we're primarily going to be digging in when we go out. And so this is a river to lake type environment, and we'll give you an idea of the types of rivers we're dealing with. We're dealing with what are called braided streams, so a very large amount of sediment load and not a lot of big time well-defined banks. This would have been seasonally wet and then seasonally dry, and so there would have been watering holes and so on and so forth. So think of it similar to the African savanna as far as what we're dealing with environment, although we don't have any grass during the Jurassic. And then we can move up to the Cretaceous. So two of them that we're going to pay attention to, the Dakota, which is more of a shoreline area, and then we have the Mancos, which is a marine to shoreline area. Again, think about how these things are changing due to plate tectonics and due to the constantly shifting landscape, and what's going on here as far as where Colorado is and what's going on with the climate to, again, give us the different kinds of life that we have during the Cretaceous. And then we'll look at a couple more here. We'll look at the Paleogene formations with the Green River, which is a river to lake environment. We have the Bridger, which is a fluvial environment. And then we go into a lot more fun. We have the Bishop conglomerate, which is a terrestrial, also has some volcanics in this area, so things are starting to get a little more chaotic during this time. As far as volcanism, we have hotspots underneath for our plates, and we're getting some really, really nasty volcanics that are going on during this time in the Paleogene, which continues into the Neogene as well, into the Browns Park, which is a terrestrial volcanic. A good chunk of western Colorado is undergoing some big-time volcanic explosions. You go down south of here, and you get some really, really nasty volcanoes called calderas, which are so violent that they collapse in on themselves. So again, bring this back to plate tectonics and how the climate is shifting and how the topography is shifting and everything else, so that we see what we see today. But that'll give you a good rundown of wrapping your head around the geologic timescale, as well as some of the major changes that occur in the area that we're going to be digging in. So there you have it.